I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys! Welcome. We are the Nailed It After Show. Man,
yeah, we are.
Excited for today's episode, episode 7, the Big Bake Theory. I'm wearing my glasses in honor of, because everyone had glasses on this episode because it's very sciencey. So really funny. Before we get to dive in and talk about how the contestants got to bring out their kids as a surprise, let me introduce our panel. I'm super excited because someone's birthday is today.
Yay!
Happy birthday, Eric Jewell,
Yeah.
who calls himself a disaster in the kitchen. Now, I'm not calling him that, but he says that he's an expert at banana bread.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, it is my birthday today. Thankfully, I will not be baking for myself tonight. My roommates will be baking my birthday cake for me tonight to celebrate.
Legit, that's good. You got a plan. Next up is Elisa Acosta Milan, who is obsessed with baking shows and loves binge watching episodes of Nailed It. I personally think that she should be a contestant on the show. How would you feel about actually being on Nailed It, Elisa?
Well, I would definitely be able to get a first-person point of view if I was on the show, except I don't know how well I would do, but does really anybody know when they go on the show? So I think I might actually try out for it. I don't know. We'll see, guys.
I think you should go for it. The worse, the better. It's more entertaining the worse you are for us, anyway. For us. We'd be cheering you on, but we'd be laughing at you too, honestly. I can't
thank
even
you.
lie.
Yep.
So our guest judge is Valerie Gordon for this episode. Our 3 amateur contestants, amateur bakers are Ebony, who says in her video, I'll improvise and I like to color outside the line. I was like, that is not a good sign.
Yeah, never a good thing to hear.
Raymond, whose daughter encouraged him to apply, he was like, seemed a little bit reluctant, but he wanted to do it. His daughter begged him to do it. And then Sandra, who's very family oriented and works in HR, and her clip said that she doesn't like to follow directions. So I was like, oh, this is about to be a very fun disaster. This is about to be a straight up disaster. So Baker's Choice round 1 was the Looney Beaker cakes. What did you guys think upon first seeing these? Eric, what was your reaction?
I thought they looked really cool. And when they said they had to do like self-made frosting on the top by putting in the dry ice and then pouring everything in, I was like, oh, I love that. Chemistry was my favorite subject in high school. So seeing them put chemistry into this bake was super cool. But I knew for a fact everything was going to go very poorly for these guys.
What was your reaction, Elisa?
I loved this one. I used to love science when I was younger and not so much now, but I thought it was really interesting. It kind of looked cartoonish and I liked that. And I thought it kind of looked a little bit easy, but of course it's always easy until you start to make it. And then when Jock discusses how to make it, I'm like, that's so easy. It's really not.
Yeah, I think they have a distinct advantage that when you said it looks cartoonish, I think that's to your advantage because it's easier to replicate that versus when you have like a human face that you have to, redo or whatever. But I thought this was one of the more unique challenges because I've never had a cake like this where it has a reaction inside the cake and then it bubbles out and it makes like an icing. Had you guys ever heard of that before?
I personally hadn't. But I loved that was a little interesting wrench that they threw into like just regular baking for these guys to handle.
Yeah, I would actually love that recipe. That looks really cool. I mean, I probably would fail it, but I would love to try it because it just looks so cool. What were you going to say, Lisa?
I've seen it on other baking shows, like actual, like, I don't want to say legit baking show because this is a baking show. It's not, like a person that actually can bake well baking show, but I've seen it on things, I think on like Sugar Rush and other baking shows where it's people that actually know what they're doing actually attempt it. So it's pretty cool to see that when you actually know what you're doing with it.
Oh, that's cool. I've never seen it at all. Okay, so they get into making these cakes. The kicker is it's a cake. you're going to use modeling chocolate to make the features, and then fondant to roll off the top, and then the base is a cake, right? And you build it around like this beaker. But the kicker is you have to stack the cakes, which only one baker did.
Ebony.
So tell me you guys' reaction to the myriad of very creative ways, coloring outside the box, not listening to direction ways that I think it was specifically Sandra and was it Sandra and Raymond did? Yeah. Like I was just like
the mush
my
cup,
mind was
the mush
blown.
cake.
Elisa, what were you?
Well, I thought that making the cake was probably like the easiest part of it, and Ebony was the only one that actually had her cakes put together. So I thought, okay, she's probably going to win this challenge because she's actually putting cakes. And the other two were kind of just throwing like buttercream on it together, and the pieces were crumbling and they were trying to stack it. And I'm like, well, that might kind of work for their advantage if it actually sticks together. But Ebony actually looked like she knew what she was doing.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, as soon as I saw Ebony was the only one that actually used a cutter to make good circles and good sizes, like, oh, good, she's going to stick it in. Obviously, that's what you should be doing. And then as soon as I saw Raymond just grab his test tube, put it down, and then just start rolling everything around it, I was like, this is when it goes all downhill for you. And then Sandra did the same thing, but hers was so much thicker. I was just like, no. I was like, this is not going to stand. And it just fell apart. I was like, I'm not surprised at all. Ebony clearly was the only one who knew what she was doing for this.
But this is what blew me away. Sandra's, I mean, it looked decent for it just being crumbled cake squished into a fondant. It reminded me of like trying to put on tight jeans. She was like squeezing it around. And I was like, there's no way that's gonna work. But then it actually like looked like a form of, I was like, okay, I'm impressed that she did that. But of course, as soon as you cut into it, it's like,
oh, it just falls apart.
Yeah, but it was a fake out. I was like, I'm impressed that she was even able to do that. Just that their minds even conceived to like smush it and then encase it in fondant. That just blew my mind.
Well, Sandra also didn't let her cake cool. And I see that so many times with contestants on the show. And I'm thinking, if you're going to be a contestant on the show, you should probably watch previous episodes of Nailed It. And Jock gives you some tidbits here and there. You should probably write those down, memorize them so that when you go on the show, you know what to do. And that's like Bakey 101. You have to let your cakes cool and put them in the blast chiller.
Yeah, that blast chiller has been giving them a lot of trouble this season, though. But yeah, you got to get in that blast chiller. So Raymond's cake was leaking. Ebony's is pretty good looking, but the eyes I thought looked terrifying. She's the only one that stacked it, so when you cut into it, it didn't like completely crumble,
right?
Like Sandra's did as well. So Ebony was the winner. They said that they had to base it off of looks because everybody's tasted terrible, which.
It's interesting though, because sometimes they base it off of looks and not taste, and then they reverse it. So that's always interesting to see like how they judge it.
Yeah, but I think when all things are equal, right? So like everybody's tasted best. It's impossible to judge off taste. So you have to go to looks, which kind of sucks if you thought my cake is going to be the best tasting. I'm not going to worry about the outside. Then it's like, not in this case. So what stood out to me around two is the rocket cake challenge, which was just insane. It was like 4.5 feet tall.
Yes.
Bruh. So the rocket is made out of cake and rice cereal. You have to do fondant over it. You have to airbrush the fondant. And then there's cotton candy smoke on the bottom.
Is that all?
So they couldn't even unveil it in the regular like room that they unveil it.
Because it was too tall.
Wes had to roll it out.
Oh, Wes.
I mean, all of that, and I think what put me over the edge was I was like, they also have to make cotton candy. Like, I have a cotton candy machine at home that my family bought me for my birthday because I love cotton candy. It is not easy to make. And you have to make a lot of it to go around the rocket. That just put me over the edge. What were you guys' thoughts on the rocket, Eric?
I couldn't. Well, yeah, you're right. When they first opened the door and it wasn't there, I was thinking, what's the joke here? And then when Wes rolled out a 4-foot tall rocket, I was blown away. I was like, they can't reach the top of that. How are they supposed to bake something that huge? I had props to any of them for getting something that remotely looked like a rocket in the end there.
Facts. What did you think about it, Elisa, at the rocket reveal?
I thought it was so cool because I was watching it from home and I didn't have to make it. I mean, it was definitely, I was like, that is a tall cake. And they said that was the largest cake that anybody's ever attempted on Nailed It. So I'm thinking, what's going to happen if they have another season? It's probably just going to get even taller. So, but I think it was so cool because it looked really interesting, not to make, but just the overall end factor. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to look at. So then we get their kids on the show, which I thought was awesome. That was
great.
Really cool surprise, especially since was it Raymond? Yeah. Especially since Raymond's daughter was the one that talked him into coming on. So then she got to come on. Penelope was her name. She was really cute.
Right.
And she was giving him great advice. She was like, Dad, we need to put the buttercream icing on before we do the fondant. And he was like, I don't think so. And at the end, Jacques was like, she was right. So like, oh my gosh. What were you guys' reactions to the kids, Elisa?
So many. I was talking to Eric about it earlier, and I just think it was so great. Well, first of all, the fact that London, when she was working with her mom, Ebony, that to me was like the best part of the show. The fact that she really wasn't even helping her mother. You could never find her because she was in the pantry trying to find food, and then she was snacking on the food the whole time. So she basically wasn't even helping her mom, and her mom saying, I should have brought a different child with me because you're not helping me whatsoever. Like, I don't know if she grasped the concept of, hey, you're here to help your mother. You're not here to snack away. I mean, if you could snack and help at the same time, then, you know, if the producers let you, like, go for it. But they weren't the best pair. But I do think that Sandra and Seth worked really great together. He seemed like he knew more than she did because he had gone to, I think, a culinary camp or something like that. Yeah. So he really brought a lot to the table with helping his mom out with that.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny how she said that her daughter was not focused and, you know, her just distracted. Even the daughter said that. So I knew it was going to be some hijinks. She was really funny and so cute. She's really cute. Seth, I loved how Seth said from the get-go, he was like, let's be honest. No one's going to make this cake look good. I fell out. I was like, no, he didn't. He was like, our angle is going to be trying to make it taste good. I was like, okay, at least he has like a focus. What did you think about the kids, Eric?
I thought it was such a fun dynamic for them to bring on, especially, you're right, Raymond and Penelope. She would just give him little bits of sass every so often. I was like, this is it. This is perfect. Especially at the end where I think it was Nicole asked, what was it like baking with your father? And she goes, interesting. The dad's like, that's not the word I wanted to hear.
No.
But yeah, I loved that it was London was the one who kept disappearing, right?
Yes.
And she's just standing up at the model looking at the cotton candy. And even Nicole's like, where'd London go? And Jacques' like, she's right next to us. It was so funny just how distracted she would get at every moment.
And then Nicole says, so how do you keep your face looking like that? And she said, oh, I sleep.
Yeah, she was so funny. She reminded me, I thought, like, if Nicole was a kid, she probably was just like that. Like, in the bag, getting snacks, clowning, like barely paying attention, just kind of doing her own thing.
Yep.
She was so funny. Yeah, so that was hilarious. So I cannot, I was really surprised that they gave them the help of wheeling just out a bunch of cotton candy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Like towards the end, and I felt kind of bad for Ebony because they had spent their time making cotton candy. They were like the only team that had started making cotton candy, and so they were like, here's free cotton candy. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of messed up. Like they kind of waste their time making that, but it was a nice little surprise.
Yeah.
So when it came time to judge to unveil the cakes, they all looked pretty similar. What did you guys think about the final reveal?
Everything just looked so charred to me. Like everything just looked so burned on the outside. You could see the metal on almost every single person's layer for their cakes. And I was like, again, they just can't reach where they're supposed to be putting everything. So I was like, "Yep, this is as best as you could get." Like, oh, it was so just funny to look at the final reactions.
Yeah. What
I,
did you
I
think, Elisa?
I thought Ebony's and London's looked like a robot, but that might have been because Ebony really didn't have help from London. So,
No help.
I mean, she did the best that she could. And then Seth and his mom, I thought theirs kind of looked like a droid from Star Wars. It was, a little bit unique and creative, but then it kind of looked like something happened to it. Like it fell over, it got burned, like Eric said, something like that. But I mean, considering what the challenge was, and that was the biggest that they have ever gotten, I think that they did a decent job. Because I know if I had to do that challenge, it might have looked a little bit different.
Yeah, agreed. Anytime you're doing like the straight up around the pole type of deal,
Yeah.
I'm just like, how is that possibly a mistake? Even when it's Rice Krispie treats, I'm like, that is I mean, and this just looks so difficult to try and pull off for a regular person. And once again, like, do you think they used Jacques well when they hit the buzzer and he came over? What were you thinking, Eric, when they got their Jacques help?
I feel like he was used decently. I don't think that when he was called over in this episode, I don't think he was used to his full potential. Like, I would have straight up asked him, how am I supposed to put everything so much higher up? How would you recommend to get the fondant to stay on this, since it's such a tall, like, creation? How do you get, like, how much buttercream do you have to put to keep everything together up top? So I would have used him a bit more during my times if I had hit a panic button for this.
I agree. I think that's a good idea. You have multiple questions. I would have been like, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? She had him come over and they just stacked the cake. And he did give her a good clue because he said, you want to stagger how you stack, because then it showed someone else and they had all stacked their cakes along the same seam. And so that was a good tip. But like, I was like, you need some more tips. Can he tell me this? This is what I don't know. Can you have Jacques come over and actually do something for you? Can you be like, hey, Jacques, I'm chopping this.
I don't think so.
Can you mix this icing for me? No, he can only tell you. He can only
I'm pretty sure they can they can just tell you how to do it. I don't think they can physically do it for you.
Do it for you. Yeah.
The only time I've seen that is when they've had an advantage and the other two competitors, their advantage is you have to help this person bake so they can help you do whatever you tell them for 3 minutes. But I've never seen, I don't think, Jacques actually being able to do stuff for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was a crazy one.
Yes.
Even more crazy is our appreciation for all of our fans that are tuning in right now, whether you're listening to a podcast or you're watching us on YouTube. You could do us a huge, huge favor. If you're listening to a podcast, could you give us a 5-star review on iTunes? And then if you're watching us on YouTube, you can give us a thumbs up and then absolutely make some comments below. Tell us what you thought were the funniest parts of this episode, what you thought about class, and the outfit at the end.
And real quick, guys, we just got an answer from our live chat. One of the producers, Patrick, he just gave us our answer. No, when people get the advantage, Jacques cannot come and he cannot touch anything for the contestants. So thank you for answering and clearing that up, Patrick.
Good to know that technicality. Thank you, Patrick.
Because I think everybody would want to use that advantage. If Jacques was able to help them, I'd say, hey, can you help roll up my fondant real quick? Because you know what you're doing.
I'm like, do this. But they obviously, like, sometimes they don't even use, their guest, the judge, to their advantage fully. Like the one guy, last time asked one question and then the person was standing there.
You would go.
So
for 15 seconds.
I think outside the box. What did she say? I color outside of the lines. So a really interesting news for you guys. I saw Nicole Byer doing an interview, and she revealed that she has not bought toilet paper for the past 6 years. So it said, I was like, does she have a bidet? Like, what's the situation? So she said that she steals it from restaurants. And I quote, if your toilet paper isn't tied down, I will take it. I'll put it in my purse, my bra. And she said, I love not paying for things. So she told me a story about she went to this restaurant and she came out and she put she had like rolls, guys, not like rolls of toilet paper stuffed in her bra. And then she said one of the waitresses saw her and was like, oh my gosh, you're Nicole Byer, can I get a picture with you? And she was like, yes. She was trying to like take a picture, like, but without like making the toilet paper like hit the girl like on the side. It was so funny.
Oh,
I was
that's
just like,
hysterical.
who does that?
Wow.
So I wonder how she's doing.
Yeah,
in the
how are you
time
holding
of
up right now,
Corona
Nicole?
and-
Maybe she
Yeah,
has a
with-
stash hidden away though from everything she's taken. So
Maybe, but she said she hasn't bought it in 6 years, which I thought was
Oh,
hilarious.
That's
So, Lisa,
amazing.
you have a special segment for us?
yes. So in some of the past episodes that we've been watching, I've noticed that some of the contestants, they get to put their own flavor in the cakes and they get to decide, do they want chocolate, vanilla? Sometimes they want chocolate, but it comes out vanilla. I don't know how that happens, but it does. So I want to ask you guys, if you were on Nailed It and you got to make any flavor cake that you wanted to, what would you make?
I would make that bubblegum flavor. It sounds so weird, but somebody made it a couple of episodes ago. And I was like, what is that? What is bubblegum flavor? I would definitely make bubblegum flavor. And my cake, of course, it would be pink.
What about you, Eric?
I was thinking maybe like a strawberry kiwi
Oh,
type flavor
okay.
together. I think those flavors would really complement each other well. Granted, because I'm making it, it's not going to turn out properly. But I think it would be an interesting attempt to put those two together in a cake there.
Nice.
I would definitely make red velvets. I love red velvet cake, but I feel that a lot of people, I watch baking shows and I watch other things on YouTube. I feel that's one of the biggest fails that people make is red velvet cake. It never tastes like it's supposed to with like the cream cheese frosting or the icing. So maybe I would try to attempt to make that, and maybe Jacques and Nicole would think it would taste okay. But I can hear Jacques now. Well, the buttercream's good.
I'll take any compliment. So we'll close up now. We're so grateful for you guys for tuning in and watching with us. This episode was hilarious. Can you guys tell us where they can wish you a happy birthday, Eric?
Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to wish me a happy birthday or just talk with me on Twitter, you can find me at EricJewel11. I'll be watching a lot more of the show later again this week. Feel free to stop by or just say happy birthday to me.
Awesome. What about you, Elisa?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Alyssa_Acosta. I'm so excited to talk to you guys, and let me know if any of you have made a red velvet cake and how it came out.
All right, and I'm your moderator, Kay Montgomery. You can find me at host K, HOSTKAY on Twitter and Instagram. We will see you guys next time for the Nailed It After Show. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.